Okay, so for months I've been talking about why Canadians are choosing to stay home instead and avoiding the United States. I mean, us Canadians, we know why we're not going to the United States. But then you get US citizens like this guy here, who believes we're not coming to the United States because of the exchange rate.
Other really important component to this conversation is the exchange rate. I want to say that it was right about a 70 cents to the dollar, and we have always known that that is pretty close to the bottom of the exchange rate where it just doesn't make financial sense for Canadians to shop here.
Yeah, I don't think so. It has more to do with your president and your administration and even some of your citizens. Well, today I got to talk about some of the numbers. And February of last year to February now is continuing to decrease when it comes to travelers to the United States. And while the United States is still in denial when it comes to their tourism industry, Vancouver is expecting a record year when it comes to the cruise ship industry. I love seeing photos of my home. And last but not least, a story I reported before, but it is still kind of flying under the radar. Thousands of US citizens may be eligible to become Canadians. Now, it might be good for some US citizens that are trying to get out of the chaos of the United States. But my biggest question is, what do Canadians actually think about this? I know this topic might be a little controversial, and I'm going to give my opinion on it. So we'll talk about this one later, but let's get started with the numbers first.
Canadians are still keeping their elbows up, with travel to the US down, keeping their travel and shopping dollars at home in the face of Trump's tariffs. Numbers released last week from Statistics Canada show a 14.5% drop in Canadian residents returning from the US in February 2026 from 2025. The drop to 2026 from 2024 before the tariffs came into place is more significant at 31.5%.
Now, I'm not afraid to admit that I was wrong because I did think that 2026 would bottom out. But I'm happy to be wrong on this one because 2026 is still proving that people do not want to go to the United States. And we have seen numbers from British Columbia for March 2026, and the numbers for the Peace Arch and the Pack Highway truck crossing. If you compare it to March 2024, it's down 55%. I never thought any border crossing would actually cross the 50% mark. But my home province of British Columbia, well done. And I'm sure we're going to get to see other crossings across the country start to get closer to that 50% mark as well.
Canadians are rightfully upset with respect to everything that we're seeing coming out of the United States.
Simon Resch and his family run the Emerson Duty Free Shop. He says things picked up again to pre-COVID traffic in August 2024, just months before the Trump tariffs slowed things down once again.
There was still, some climbing back up from COVID, but where we would typically expect to be, we're in between 50 and 75% down on customers.
Well, when your business model relies on people crossing the border, and nobody's crossing the border, then I think you got a bit of a problem. I really don't know how these duty-free stores are going to survive. I mean, we still have at least another 3 years of this stuff going on. And I say 3 years because there are going to be Canadians out there that are just waiting for the orange guy to leave, and then they'll go back to the United States. Let's be real here. But even if those Canadians still go to the United States, I don't think it's going to be back to where this guy's used to in terms of sales. I mean, we already know some of the duty-free stores have closed down, and my guess is that we're going to see more closing this year, especially with the numbers decreasing from 2025 to 2026. Now, this next person here is actually from Fargo-Moorhead. I guess that's an area that spans between Minnesota and North Dakota. But she explains the decrease that they've experienced in 2025, and I guess mainly because Manitobans have not going to their state or area anymore. So let's take a look.
We tracked around 5.7 million visitor days in 2025. And roughly 1 million of those, I would say, come from Canada.
Danielle Melquist with Visit Fargo-Moorhead says Canadian tourism is down about 20% in the area, prompting them to advertise the destination to Manitoba and others within a road trip's distance.
Definitely our hotel partners are seeing an impact. Our sports tournaments can see some differences if teams don't want to travel down to the States, as well as any stores or local boutiques.
Okay, so you saw those empty chairs and empty bars and empty hotels. And I'm sure it's something that's been going on for all of 2025 and even over to this year. But whenever there's a story like this, I always like to see who the people are in the area. And if we look at the Fargo-Moorhead area, that line straight down the middle is pretty distinct between conservatives and split evenly. Now, this website I'm using is called bestneighborhood.org. And I've seen some comments from people saying that this website might not be the most accurate. Fair enough. Then let's look at the North Dakota election results. That's a lot of red if you ask me. 246,000 voted for the orange guy, and only 112,000 voted for Harris. Now if we look over to Minnesota, Harris squeaked by with 1.6 million, where the orange guy got 1.5 million. But the rest of the state? Pretty red if you ask me. So if you ask me, and this is just my opinion, I don't really have much sympathy for the Fargo-Moorhead area and their tourism industry, because there is going to be plenty of red voters there. So if you agree with me, let me know in the comments below. And if you agree and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button if you agree that the United States is going to be on their own when it comes to tourism.
The Statistics Canada numbers show Canadians are traveling, just not to the U.S., with overseas arrivals up 7.2% in February compared to last year. In fact, more Canadian residents returned from overseas by air than crossed at U.S. land borders last month. In a statement, the Winnipeg Airports Authority noted an 8% decrease in travel to the U.S. in 2025, but travel from the States to Winnipeg has not changed. In February, WestJet announced it was dropping Winnipeg's direct flights to Nashville and Atlanta due to lack of demand.
A short-term federal administration in the U.S. is not something that we consider to be a death blow.
Resch says expanding what duty-free shops can sell could help his sector, but doesn't expect that or cross-border traffic to change anytime soon.
So I really wanted to show this report for those viewers from Winnipeg, because this directly shows the impact you guys are having on the border state just south of you. These empty tables and empty bars? Yep, this is you guys. So well done. If it sounds like I'm happy about this, I actually am. And I'm not happy that people are losing their jobs. But I am happy that Canada is taking a stand. And those that voted for the orange guy need to take responsibility. But those that didn't vote for the orange guy, unfortunately, your fellow citizens are responsible for this, not Canada or the rest of the world. Now, there is something else that I'm really excited for, and it's the fact that Vancouver is set to have a record year when it comes to their cruise ship industry. Let's take a look.
This is the Norwegian Bliss, one of the largest ships that can fit under the Lions Gate Bridge. And over there, Holland America's Eurodam. Both here as Vancouver celebrates the 40th anniversary of the very first cruise ship at Canada Place Terminal.
It's that stunning natural beauty and signature world-class hospitality that we have here that continues to draw people to visit Vancouver and British Columbia.
The new season is officially underway, and this summer the city is bracing for one of its busiest cruise ship years yet, with multiple vessels scheduled to visit downtown almost every day throughout the summer.
Now, being that I'm from Vancouver myself, you can always tell when there was a cruise ship in town. Shops and restaurants will be packed, Gastown will be flooded with a lot of people. I just tell people, don't go east of Gastown. You don't want to go there. But every cruise ship that comes in is going to mean more money to Vancouver's economy. And the fact that Vancouver's going to have a record year for the amount of boats, it's going to be a good thing for Vancouver.
In peak season from early May through late September, officials say 40 to 50,000 passengers will pass through this terminal every weekend. Today's captain of the Eurodam, Jeroen van Donselaar, was actually a cadet on the first ship that docked here in 1986.
We had so much fun. We ate hamburgers on the world's first floating McDonald's. And one afternoon we even saw Bryan Adams perform, so it was just amazing.
I totally remember the McBarge. That was like one of the funnest things of Expo 86. Well, at least what I remember. I was only like 4 or 5 years old. But unfortunately now, the McBarge isn't doing very well. And it's halfway sunk somewhere in the Fraser River, I think.
40 years later, and the captain still has high praise for Vancouver.
The lay of the land here, if you look behind you, the beautiful mountains with the snow on it still, and in this side here, amazing world-class city, great restaurants, lots of things to do for people pre-cruise and post-cruise.
Fast forward to 2026, and all those cruise ships are expected to be a huge boom for the local economy. An estimated 1.4 million travelers coming to the city. Of course, throw in the World Cup and all that business, and it's bound to bring a whole lot of people and a whole lot of traffic.
Now, no matter how much I don't like the FIFA organization, it is going to be a positive for Vancouver when it comes to tourists coming in. Oh, hey, co-host is here. Oh, shit, I forgot what I was going to say. So what I was going to say is, you can see the stark contrast from the first report I did on Fargo-Moorhead versus Vancouver. One city is struggling for people and begging people to come back. The other is anticipating a huge rush of tourism this year.
I do think that I'm biased, obviously, but I do think that the benefits outweigh, and it's such a great way of getting dollars into our cities when we really need it.
And she's right. We will get it. Every cruise ship brings an estimated $3 million into the local economy. Chris Wiggins, CTV News, Vancouver.
Now, how many states, cities, and counties in the United States would love to have that kind of money coming in? Well, they used to, but not anymore. And 14 months has passed since the election, and you have to wonder how many Republicans are actually regretting their vote right now, especially if they're in the tourism industry. But I'm going to guess that a lot of Republicans aren't going to be willing to admit it, and they're just going to continue blaming it on the exchange rate, or the weather, or any other bullshit excuse that they want to blame it on. But I know for a fact that they're wishing that there'd be more tourists visiting their state or city. Now, speaking of wishing, I know there's about 54,000 or 57,000 US citizens that are wishing that they were Canadians instead. And I've covered the story in the past, but it really didn't get much traction. And this guy says it is flying under the radar. But with the new law passed by Ottawa, US citizens, it doesn't have to be their direct parents that were Canadians. As long as it's in their bloodline, I guess, they can apply to be Canadian. My biggest question is, how do Canadians actually feel about this? Because I'm kind of on the fence. But let's take a look at this report first.
Millions more Americans might qualify for dual Canadian citizenship under a recent change to Canada's requirements. And this is prompting immigration lawyers on both sides of the border to report a surge in applications. So I want to bring in CBC News reporter Mark Carcassol. Mark, great to be with you. Can you explain this new law and how it works?
Yeah, Liz, so essentially this came into effect on December 15th, just the end of last year. And what it does is it's a pretty significant change from what we had in place before. Previously, parents could only pass citizenship down one generation to their kids. This new law passed by the government before the end of last year has opened up citizenship to anyone who can prove essentially that they have Canadian ancestry in your bloodline. It doesn't have to be your parents. It could go back to your great-grandparents or even further back than that. The catch is that you just have to prove it. Individuals born outside of Canada before this law was passed, December 15th, 2025, must show that they have a Canadian parent or some sort of ancestor who became a Canadian citizen on or after January 1st, 1947, or specific to the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, which joined Canada in April 1st, 1949. You can utilize that date as well.
Now, when I showed a report on this topic a while ago, it got mixed reviews. And I'll be honest with you, I'm still a little bit mixed about it myself. Because on one hand, I want the United States citizens to fight for their own country, and Canada shouldn't be a backup. But on the other hand, I have met quite a few US citizens from this channel who have emailed me saying that they can't take it anymore. And each situation has been different. Some might not have the right skin color. Some might be a minority group in their community. Some might be part of the LGBTQ community. Or some might be from countries where the orange guy is deemed a target. So in these situations, I can totally understand why they would want to leave the United States. And I feel for them and I support it. But I have seen some comments, not in my videos, but just around social media, where US citizens are just saying, we'll just move to Canada. They'll take anybody. And to me, that doesn't sit right. Just being a backup because your country's gone to shits. So it's a fine balance. I mean, I really don't know how to handle it myself.
As you mentioned, this opens up the window to several potential American people to move over. Now, I've seen online a lot of talk. It's mostly done in the context of celebrities. There's been a lot of talk that perhaps Beyonce, because she has some relatives way back, could automatically become Canadian, or Timothy Chalamet or Madonna. That's not the case at all. There are very strict guidelines to that. Some applicants may have to trace their bloodlines back several generations to prove that they would qualify. You have to provide documents to prove that your ancestor was Canadian within the specific guidelines, and that you are directly related through each generation. But as you mentioned, immigration lawyers are already finding themselves swamped with applications on both sides of the border. People who are actually maybe just curious about it, or people who are actually serious about it. So for anyone interested, I'll give you the details here. The fee for just proof of citizenship application is $75 Canadian. That comes out to about just under $55 American when you do the transfer. Hiring a lawyer, though, or a genealogist or some other expert that might help you trace through the generations, that could cost you thousands. So it could get expensive. The website for the federal government says the process takes around 10 months, and there are about 56,000 people plus who are currently in the queue awaiting a decision.
So 56,000 US citizens are already looking into this and in the queue. And each of them will have their own reasonings for actually pursuing this. I do hope it is for the right reason, though. Not to just have Canada as a backup. Now, the reporter asked the question, what do Canadians think about this? And I want all Canadians to listen to this.
I'm curious, Mark, how are Canadians viewing this?
You know what, Liz, I got to be quite honest. This story has kind of flown under the radar here for the most part. As I said, a lot of the stories that have been reported have sort of come over social media and through the context of, again, some American celebrities could become Canadian, which is not necessarily true, not automatically anyway. But for the most part, I think, we here in Canada, we still love our American friends, and I think most people would be happy to hear this. A lot of us have relatives who are in the U.S. who, up until the rules changed, didn't qualify. Now perhaps this may help unite some families. So everyone I've spoken to about it seems relatively positive about it, if there's any reaction at all.
Now, I have to put it into context of what he said. If I had the opportunity to have my US friends become Canadians, I would be happy about that. Because some of my friends in the US, the ones that I'm at least close to, cannot stand the US administration and what their country's going through. Some of them are minorities, and one of them actually got stopped by ICE. Luckily, he had his passport card on him. In a situation like that, I would say welcome to Canada. But there are going to be people that are going to look at this as a way out, or as a backup. So yeah, I don't know how they're going to be screening people. You know, there's 57,000 people right now, and I'm sure when the word gets out, that list is going to grow bigger. So I want to hear the community's perspective, and especially if you're Canadian. What's your thoughts on having potentially more US citizens become Canadians? Like I said, my perspective, I'm kind of on the fence on it. It depends. If someone is in a minority group or a group that is targeted, I would say no problem. But if somebody is using Canada as a backup, I would say no. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm going to end the report here because it does go on a little bit longer. It talks about some of the benefits and the processes on how to get through this. But if you want to watch it, the link will be in the description below. To close off this video, I would like to thank Dusenflager44, I hope I pronounced that right, for posting this photo on the Guard the Leaf Hay Cafe page. And he took this photo from Hornby Island, just off the coast of Vancouver Island. So thank you again for posting this on the Guard the Leaf page. Alright, that's all I got for this video. I do really want to hear everybody's opinion on that last part. The segment on 57,000 or 56,000 US citizens wanting to become Canadians. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international perspective, without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you'll be notified of my future videos. And if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone, I'll catch you in the next one.